The biggest battle we will ever have to face is the battle between you and you. It's the battle of taking your mind to that limit and then breaking through. On the Mindful Experiment podcast, we will share concepts, universal laws, and interviewing individuals who have done just that, who have gone through the dark times and through those moments allowed their light to shine bright. I'm your host, Dr. Vic Manzo, and I want to thank you for listening to the podcast and taking this journey with me as we discover different avenues to break through those limits, expand your reality, and evolve into the person you desire to be. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Dr. Vic, and you are on the Mindful Experiment. I'm excited to have you on. Hope you all are doing absolutely amazing. It's been an interesting time. I say if you don't know what's going on in the news, you're kind of living under a rock. If you don't know who Kobe Bryant is and his family, the Altobelli family, and everyone that had that tragic accident that happened. And for me, this hit home, and it probably may have for you. It's one of those things where you hear these kind of news and you get kind of down, you get upset, you get sad. It puts a check into your reality, and then like a week or two or three, time just goes by, and all of a sudden you're back into your normal routine, right? I know I've done that many times in my life. I don't know if you have, but this one hit home for me. It was something that, for me, it was something that I just couldn't shake off. When it happened, I was like, wow, Kobe Bryant, out of all the people, it's someone that I value. I've studied him. I've studied his mindset in the set of the game. I've studied his mindset in the life. I've studied this individual, and there's just so much I gained for him to see him go so young. It's one of those things where I was like, man, what the world would have had if he was around for another 10, 15, 20 years, what would be different, and it started to put perspective in my life. And in today's episode, I don't want it to be a Debbie Downer or a negative, but I want to share some things with you that, he shared, but also what are the things that you can take away from this for your life so that you can empower yourself? Because I believe death is one of the best teachers. There's a lot of teachers you're going to have in life, a lot of nuggets and wisdom that are going to come to you. I think death is one of the biggest ones because you can't turn back. There's no turning back. Once it happens, it happens. And it teaches you things. There's values, there's lessons. There's so much that the dead leaves us, right? And if you really look for it, it's there. I mean, it's the best gold in the world. And it's one of those things where, with Kobe Bryant, if you don't know who he is, he was one of the best basketball players of all time. He wasn't better than Michael Jordan. And I am, some people say I might be biased, but I'm from Chicago. But it's who he was when he played the game, and there's so much things there where he had so many things that I followed and his when I studied his mindset, I wanted to know why he was so great. I was a period in my life where I was trying to understand, why can I be great? And I wasn't achieving levels in my business. I wasn't creating the impact I wanted to create in my community. And I had a lot of struggles kicking in, and I was getting frustrated with myself. I'm like, I'm doing all these things. Why is it? Maybe I'm just not designed. I don't know. And I had that thinking. And then what happened was I started studying people who were great, history of different individuals, current and so forth. And I wanted to know, what was it about them that made them great versus someone who isn't? And what I realized is it was all the mindset. And that's what inspired me to study mindset and more in depth than ever before. And Kobe was one of those guys, just like Michael Jordan, I studied him too, was one of those guys that really stood out. He was someone that was determined. He was great. One of the quotes I love by him, and I'm going to share a lot today of him in his quotes, it's everything's negative, pressure, challenges. It's all an opportunity for me to rise. He used to say this, and I love that because for me, this is when I wrote. I ended up writing a book called A Walk in the Dark, which is all about the negatives and things that we face in life. And what is it that it's going to help you rise? It's going to help you gain wisdom that you need to thrive to the level where you want to play at. and how it was all there for a greater design beyond what your mind could ever comprehend. And so, when you look at this, think first off, never take anything for granted in life. That's one of the biggest things I could share. I always say that when people hold on to a grudge, what they expect is for you, they drink the poison and they expect you to suffer. The other thing about holding on to grudges is things you think somewhere deep down in your brain you live forever, that you're going to be in the physical realm forever. But the truth is, we all have a time and place. There's a quote I heard, was a great one actually, and I'm going to share this with you guys, is that there's one guarantee I know in life, and that one guarantee in life is death. But the one thing that's an option is to live. Because there's everyone's going to die, but not everybody lives. And the thing is about, are you living? Are you living the life that you desire? Are you awake? Are you living your passions? Are you bringing those to fruition? Are you harvesting your seeds that you planted to live in a life full of inspiration, life full of fulfillment, and so much more? This is one of the biggest wishes I have for everybody that I ever come in contact with, is just to help the individual become more fulfilled and inspired in life. Because if I can do that, I know their light's shining bright and the world would benefit from that. It's one of the things, like I remember when I read Kobe Bryant, this quote: I have self-doubt, I have insecurity, I have fear of failure. I have nights when I show up at the arena and I'm like, my back hurts, my knee hurts, my feet hurt. I don't have it. I just want to chill. We all have self-doubt. You don't deny it, but you also don't capitulate on it to it. You embrace it. And I love that because I saw that he had fears, right? Here's someone who was one of the greats and he had fears, and I was like, wow, I have fears too. I have fear of failures, when it comes to things. I started a new business last year. I have a fear of it failing. But I don't let it consume me. I don't let it take over me. I let it fuel me because I want to prove myself. And it's only me that I need to prove to, nobody else. And that's how, when I first started my chiropractic business, I started with nothing. I loaned $20-something thousand on credit cards to start a business. And 2 years later, that was credit card debt turned into 40-something thousand. Yeah. But I continued because I had a vision. And thankfully, with all the hard work, everything worked out well. It turned around. But it's one of those things where, it's those things are going to come, and those voices and those excuses and so forth. Don't let it overtake you. All right. Don't ever let it overtake you in anything that you do. So it's one of those things that, this, like I said, this thing hit me hard because it's a thing in life that we'll all face, and you never know when it's going to happen. So you don't know that you're going to live forever. We all know that to a certain degree, but our actions may be different. That's why I say, holding on the grudges, do you think you are going to live forever? Appreciate the times you have with the people you have. Let people know that who you really care about. Let them know what they mean to you. Let them know how much you appreciate them. And it's one of those things that this happening really hit home for me at the right time, that I needed to hear this. And so it's one of those things that, how can you in your life get centered and focused on something to know that at the end of the day, you're going to be living on E? What are the things that you can do? What fulfills you? What inspires you? It's like Dr. John DeMartini states that when you're serving and living and acting out your highest value, that is the true path to inspiration and fulfillment. And I truly believe in that, because when you're living to your highest thing, that value, the thing that's the most important to you, and you do that, when you do that, you're going to be living at a higher level, a higher vibe. You're achieving the things that matter most to you. If you don't do that, if you notice in your life, and this is a great reality check for you, if you're looking at your life and you're upset, you're frustrated, you're down, you're not happy, you're miserable, whatever it may be, you don't like your job, you don't like the work you do, or the business becomes a job, whatever it may be, you're not serving your highest value. And sometimes you may be living in your lower value systems and focusing there and not allowing yourself to truly accept and appreciate that higher, look at what that is. what is your value system? Because most people don't know what their value system is. You don't know what you truly value. Some people do, some people don't. Now, here's what I can tell you. The way to see what you value, because what you value, you always have time for. What you value, always achieve. What you value, always take care of. And sometimes you may be valuing something, but it may not be your highest, if serving your highest good. It may not be something that you're really, truly valuing. And it's the way I can explain it is this. If you ever had a to-do list and you take this to-do list and you write it out 10 things, you'll always notice that there's like a couple things that just never get done. Like you'll be things you accomplish, and there's just a couple that just never get done, right? And if you're that type of person, what ends up happening is you'll notice the first thing you take care of is the one that you value the most. Now, somebody may say, well, no, I'm strategizing. I can get this done, knock it out here, and I can do this. Okay, well, you value time. There's still a value system behind that, right? You value the strategy behind things. You may value planning. There's stuff behind it. But at the end of the day, you're going to choose the first things are going to be what you value. And the things you don't are in your least the thing that you value. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because when you look at this becomes the perspective then of looking at your life and saying, okay, am I really focusing on things that really value to me? And it's where you have a reality check, right? Because just because the actions of what you do don't mean that's your highest value. Sometimes it's just the value of culture. It's the value of programming, the value of your family and what they put values on that you instilled into you. But it may not be your true value system. Does that kind of make sense? I've done podcasts before where I talk about the programming of the mind and culture and how it programs us, our parents, and all this is all a programming effect. And then it's up to us to deprogram that and rediscover who we really are and what we really want. This is part of that process. When you rediscover who you really are, you rediscover your true value system. What is really valuable to you? And when you can get to that point, that is when you start to live, in my opinion. That's when you start to appreciate. You have more inspiration and fulfillment in your life. You're happy. You have more joy. I don't want to say happier. You have more joy in your life. You're more blissed out. And that's going to be the critical points in your life and what you're doing and how you do things. So,
Inner Monkey is a show about overcoming irrational impulses, loss of motivation, and everything in between. We all have an inner monkey urging us to have another slice of cake, to skip today's workout, or to do things that make it harder for us to create a life we want to live. If you'd like to find ways to understand and control your inner monkey, I think you'll like this podcast. Look for Inner Monkey on your favorite podcast app, or check it out at innermonkeypodcast.com.
So what are some ways to get more value in your life? How can you know? Again, do a reality check of where you are emotionally. How do you feel about your life? Right here, right now. Do you love it? Are you living on a cloud 10? If you are, you live into your value system. If you're not there, you're not. And so that's just a quick thing to look at. Sometimes for me, I know there's been times in my life where I had to shift my value systems because it wasn't serving my highest good. I wasn't fully there was tricks in my mind that I thought this was what I should have and this and that, and this is what's valuable and X, Y, Z. And then when I got there, I realized that wasn't really my values, right? It didn't matter to me because at the end of the day, what I realized, and this happened just a few years ago, I started to realize that, I grew up in a society where money's not everything, but then people who have money, they valued more of, right? And it was always weird how I was seeing that growing up. So I thought, wow, to have value and to be appreciated, I have to be successful. And success is only determined by money. Man, let me tell you, that took me on a freaking journey because when I finally got to a place where I thought I was becoming successful and I had the finances making of what I was already in a vision of wanting to make, I started to realize that wasn't everything. Because when I got there, I was like, okay, I'm not even near where I want to get to, but I'll tell you right now, I'm very happy with where I'm at, but I still have drive and hunger I want to keep growing. And what I found out was I was just like in shock that this is all it is. And it was the same feelings I had before. And then I started to realize that it's not about that. It's about something else. And I had to recalibrate my whole entire life because of that. And I had to strip away. I literally took a huge pay cut in a sense to figure out what mattered most to me. I had to look at myself and see what valued the most. And what ended up happening was it was all about the impact. What was my vision I wanted to create for others? What did I want to leave the mark on this world? What are the things that I want to transform in life? Because I wanted to live more fulfilled. And what I started to realize is this is when I changed my practice around. This is how I practiced, what I focused on, and so much more. And I started to be happier. Even though I was making less than what I was making before, it didn't matter to me because I was happier because I was focusing on a higher value system than what I had before. I'm less stressed out than what I used to be. And I'm more in a bliss state because my practice as a chiropractor is my like getaway. I can go, I can share my heart. I'm very passionate about what I do. I'm not someone that just, I'm always challenging myself. And I get this mindset because I got it from my grandfather in the beginning, because he was a man who came from Italy with nothing, basically. And someone had to pay for him to come over to the United States to cover his cost. And within a short period of time, this man built an amazing restaurant he retired at 45, and what a story. And I got to know him when he was older. And what was beautiful about that is I got to see how determined he was. Like some people said he was extremely stubborn, but I saw that he was just determined. He saw things the way he wanted it to be done, and he was going to make it happen no matter what. And then from there, I looked at more successful people, and I started studying like Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods. What are the things that they did? And it's fascinating that they all had similar connections in many ways. And so it's one of those things, one of the things that you can do to really look at your life and see, what is it you want to create? What matters the most to you? Because we never know when our day comes to an end. Learn the lessons from others as much as you possibly can. It'll help you grow and expand in a lot more areas of your life than you having to go through them all. It's sad to see, the families, and this is not, we look at this and, oh my God, it's Kobe Bryant. I mean, there's people that are dying every day for things that are not even needed to be, and it stinks that it happens to be someone that's extremely successful as he was. My heart goes out to the family, the Kobe Bryant, his wife, his kids, the Altobelli family, and so much more. Condolences to all of them, because this is a dark time for them. There will come some great light out of it. There really will. The darkness always brings massive light as long as you look for it. It'll always be there. But the point of this whole entire podcast today is not to be a Debbie Downer about this. And you've already seen this probably all over your social media news and everything else about Kobe Bryant's death and so forth. The key point I wanted to bring to you guys is just how to find more inspiration and fulfillment in your life, so that when that day does come, you know that you gave it your all. You lived a very fulfilled and inspired life, and you feel good and at peace to move on to the next. I want to appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening. If you've do me a huge favor, if you're listening to the podcast and you're loving what you're hearing and you've been listening to it, please share just a review on iTunes or on Spotify, CastBox, SoundCloud, wherever you listen at or listen through. Share a review for us. It helps get this podcast out there and get it exposed to others, so we can help share this amazing content that we do share. I want to thank you guys. And also, just a heads up, we're getting back to our interviews. We took a little bit of a break. Wanted to just re-strategize a little bit on some of our interviews and processes of how we're doing things. And in February, we're launching back our Friday interview process people. And I have some great ones. I'm starting out with a friend of mine from chiropractic school who's been killing it on social media. Him and his wife, they have an amazing thing that they're doing. I'll be sharing all the details and so much more starting not this Friday, but the following Friday, which will be February 7th. So stay tuned. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook and so forth. Keep up with all the shows that we'll have upcoming with the interview people. I'll be sharing them during the week so that you can see who's coming up, who I'm interviewing, and you can check them out before we get into the interview process. So I appreciate you guys. And as always, until next time, keep rocking. And
thank you for listening to the podcast. For past shows, please visit www.empoweryourreality.com. I hope this show inspired you and added to your life to help you on the journey to rediscover who you really are. To connect with us on Facebook, please visit www.facebook.com/Dr. Vic Manzo. Check us out on Twitter. The handle is Dr. Vic21. Follow us on Instagram, www.instagram.com/Dr. Vic Manzo. If you were inspired by the podcast, pay it forward by sharing it with someone who you know can benefit from it. Thank you again for listening to the Mindful Experiment podcast, sharing paths to help you rediscover your infinite potential.